look up. I've had it on the back burner for about a year or so, and we all fell into it. We were really fortunate. I'd just worked with Marcus on 100 Tears, and we'd worked previously on the ill-fated Nikos the Impaler. And so we all kind of came together on this project. Stacey Davison, who had just done Domain of the Damned, used to be called Necrophobia. We all just hooked up and thought of this crazy idea of having a gigantic monster in a warehouse just crushing these hot raver kids with a giant hammer.
With an anvil on a stick.
Yeah, it's basically a 500-pound anvil that he drops on people. So it's really over the top. But we're really happy with it. I mean, I think what we were really trying to do with the film, more than really do something that's truly terrifying, is we wanted to make something that was truly fun. I feel like fun has kind of been missing from horror movies for a long time. And I think it's coming back. I mean, I think there have been a lot of great films, even in the last 2 or 3 years, that have really just tried to kind of be entertaining, some gore, some nudity, a couple good spooks. And, I mean, just have a good time with it. I mean, I loved Hatchet. I know it's kind of hit or miss for a lot of people, but I thought it was fantastic. And I really loved Wrong Turn 2. And we based a lot of, the mood we were going for on this film on those kind of movies, as well as, like, classic 80s slashers. It's really, a bunch of kids in a horrible environment with horrible things happening to them. But I don't think you really cry when any of them get it. I mean, I think it's a stand up and cheer when people get smashed kind of movie. So
yeah, lots of blood, lots of guts. Ted and I had actually originally, this is the second incarnation of this film. The first time was shortly after Nikos the Impaler, and it was going to become a Gorno.
Yes,
an
adult film.
Yeah, so it was just going to be like lots of hardcore sex and lots of hardcore gore, and just that kind of went tits up. And so here we are 2 years later and kind of come back full circle, and it's got a lot more plot to it, a little more character driven, a little more like tongue-in-cheek humor, but all the gore. So
yeah, and it's one of those things that I mean, when we originally decided that we were going to turn it into a legitimate film, we obviously took out everything that was racy and filled the thing full of, I mean, I think we got Stacey Davison, who co-wrote it, put amazing dialogue into it. I mean, it's really funny, it's really fresh, it actually flows extremely well. But he had taken out all of the sex, obviously, and after a while, Stacey started looking at the script and said, well, we took out all the sex, we've got to start putting it back in. And so the movie actually does have a fair amount of raciness to it, which is, again, kind of fun. I mean, it harkens back to a lot of the movies I watched growing up in the 80s that, I mean, they're free-for-alls. It's just kind of everything I wanted in a movie I put into this movie. So, and Marcus, who, I adore his special effects work. He does really awesome stuff. He was kind of a shoo-in when we were thinking about who we were going to get for the effects for the film. And, he jumped on board, and there's lots of extreme splatter thanks to this guy. So if you want to...
Crushings of all sorts, maimings, missing fingers, heads getting ripped up.
Yeah. Well, and the cast is really cool on this movie, too, if you didn't notice from the trailer. They're all, I mean, it's a really varied cast. We kind of wanted to do something, I kind of think of it as the Return of the Living Dead cast. Like, you don't really remember a lot of their names, but you remember there was that one guy who had the chain that went from his ear to his lip, and there's the one, and this film, I think, has a lot of those characters that are really, they're almost, I don't really know how you describe it. I mean, the punk rock or the goth or the raver girl, their persona almost takes over who they really are in the film. So, I mean, and it really is across the board with the kind of people who are in this movie. The central cast, I think there's 8 main characters, and they kind of run the gamut between giant Liberty spikes and the normal girl who's trying to fit in.
Contact lenses. Yeah, there's like one normal girl.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, it's a mixed bag, and I mean, they were troopers for the whole movie. We actually, speaking of being troopers, I got to give props to... recently we shot a scene less than a month ago. This movie was shot in Houston, Texas. We shot a scene less than a month ago with Vivi Sterling, who's a vivisect from the Suicide Girls. And she was the biggest trooper I've ever seen on any set before. And actually on that scene she interacts with Fangoria's own Mike Gingold, who has a cameo in the film at the beginning. And Mike, as soon as we were done filming, looked over and he was like, I've never seen someone take that much of a beating and still smile about it. So it was really awesome that she was, I mean, she was so into it. We stripped her down, we covered her in bruises, and Marcus sprayed about 40 gallons of fake blood on her, and she was laughing through the whole thing. So it was
Dragged her
awesome.
across the concrete.
Yeah, it was atrocious, but she loved it. And I mean, I think, it kind of embodies the whole cast. I mean, everyone was really that way. They really, they gave it their all. It's a very low budget movie, but I think the way it's shot, Stacy shot the entire thing on true HD, so it's got a really nice cinematic look to it. And yeah, I've got extremely high hopes for it. I think it's a really solid movie. So
Yeah.